Hi, grade 6. Well, obviously, this is a unique situation, with you guys at home and me here broadcasting to you. But we want to try and keep things as kind of normal as possible, even given the situation that we have. So what I wanted to do today is I just wanted to do a little bit of a review of some of the things we've been talking about for the past couple weeks, okay? You've been off school for a little while now. I just want to make sure everyone's kind of on the same page before we start moving into new material. Just remember, right, all the teachers here, we want to try and keep you up to date with your learning, right? So when we are able to come back to the classroom, we want to make sure that everybody is prepared and everybody is kind of up to speed. So today we're going to be focusing on expository writing and just a little bit of a review of the things that we've talked about in class. So this diagram here should look very familiar to all of you, right? This is the expository pillar. And remember, we had a big version of this up on the board in the classroom. So I'm just going to quickly go through it just to make sure everybody's on the same page about it. So with the expository pillar, we have at the top, of course, the introduction, which is either the lead or topic sentence. And remember, with news articles, we're really talking about a lead sentence. So we're talking about summarizing where something happened, who it happened to, when it happened, and of course, what actually happened. Okay, and then sometimes in the lead sentence, you can also mention the why or the how. Okay, so that's your lead sentence. But of course, all expository writing has some sort of an introduction. So when you're writing an essay, you have a topic sentence where you kind of introduce what your topic is. You have a little bit of a hook, and then you tell the reader what the essay is going to be about. So no matter what your expository piece of writing is about, it's always still going to have an introduction. The middle of the pillar, you can see where it says main idea 1, main idea 2, main idea 3. So those are your body paragraphs, right? Because each body paragraph has one specific main idea and then a bunch of supporting details, which you can see underneath. Now, just because there's only 3 main ideas in this pillar doesn't mean that you can only have 3 body paragraphs in your essay or news article. Okay, that's just kind of the way the diagram is laid out. But you can have 5 body paragraphs, you can have 8 body paragraphs, right? It can really be as long as you want it to be. So those are your body paragraphs, right? So each body paragraph has a specific main idea with supporting details. And then finally, we have the conclusion. And the conclusion in an expository piece of writing is basically just where we summarize everything that's already been said. Okay, so that's the expository pillar. And remember, we talked about planning, right? So when we talked about planning with a narrative story, remember I had you guys sketch out the story structure diagram where you talked about what was going to happen in your introduction, your rising action, your climax, your falling action, and your resolution, right? And you mapped everything out and said, this is going to happen here, this is going to happen here. Well, with an expository piece of writing, it's a little bit different. So really all you need is something called a summarizing framework. And again, we've talked about this a little bit in class. So when you're planning an expository piece of writing, whether it's an essay or a news article, you need, of course, your topic, and then you need to list the main ideas of each of your body paragraphs. So as long as you can identify what each body paragraph is going to be about, it's going to be a lot easier to actually organize the information. So let's try an example here. So we can see that the topic in this example is dark sky preserves. So that should be familiar to you at this point, right? We've been talking about dark sky preserves as an example for the past couple of weeks. But we can see we have our topic and our 4 main ideas. So really, we're looking at an example of a summarizing framework. So main idea 1, which is our first body paragraph, is where can we find them? Our second body paragraph is what are they? Our third body paragraph is space and sky. And our fourth body paragraph is dealing with wildlife. Okay, so those are the main ideas of each of those paragraphs. So let's look at some of the sentences that I've pulled from this article, just kind of randomly pulled some sentences, and we can see if we can match them up. Because if the essay or news article is well organized, you should always be able to match the sentences with the main idea of the body paragraph. So let's look at the first one. These areas provide incredible views of the Milky Way galaxy. Well, we're talking about the galaxy here, okay? And galaxies obviously have something to do with space. So we're looking at body paragraph 3. So that's the one that this sentence would go into. There are 4 dark sky preserves in Alberta. To me, that sounds like we're talking about where we can find dark sky preserves. So that we're talking about main idea or body paragraph 1, okay? It's letting us know that in our own sort of vicinity, our own backyard within the province, we can find 4 different dark sky preserves. So again, it's telling us where they are. Let's try the third one. Without these areas, many rodents and other small creatures would be easy prey for hungry creatures that lurk in the trees. Okay, well, we're talking about rodents, we're talking about small creatures, prey. It sounds like we're talking about wildlife, right? Wildlife and animals are the topic of this sentence. So that would go into body paragraph 4. And then finally, we have dark sky preserves are areas with very little light pollution from artificial sources. Okay, well, that's basically just telling us what a dark sky preserve is. Okay, so in that case, we can match it up pretty closely with body paragraph 2, which has the main idea, what are they? So it's telling us again what a dark sky preserve is. So this is going to be familiar to you guys because we did an activity very similar to this where I had you guys take those big cutouts of sentences and arrange them on poster paper. So I'm going to be getting you guys to do something similar for today's lesson. So basically, I'm going to give you a summarizing framework for an essay about dogs. And then in the second handout, you're going to be given a list of sentences that come from that essay. And it's going to be your job to match up the sentences with the main ideas. So you're going to have to figure out which body paragraph each sentence belongs in. So basically what it is just an essay that's been cut up and mixed up, and you're going to have to try and combine and put everything back together. Okay, I've added some instructions into the assignment, but if you look on Google Classroom, you'll notice that I have all of the materials there for you. And I also have a Google Doc there. So in the Google Doc, that's part of the assignment, that's where you're actually going to write out the essay. So once you figure out what order the sentences go in, you're actually going to write out the whole essay for me. Okay, and then once you're finished that, in the top right corner of your screen, in your Google Doc, once you've done that, you'll notice a little turn in button. So that's where you actually want to click turn in, and then that submits the Google Doc to me. So you want to make sure you do that. Okay, and I have a due date on there, so just make sure that you're paying attention to that due date. So again, we're going to do a bunch of activities each week. I'm not always going to have a video like this at the beginning. Sometimes I'll just have some resource materials, but I'm going to do some videos like this just so we can kind of keep in contact and I can explain some of the more difficult concepts and ideas to you. Okay? All right, guys, good luck.